Hello? Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to give a few minutes for people to arrive. Oh, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. You guys asked me to, and you guys did the Twitter thing, so haha. Here we are. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, yeah, let's go. Um, okay, I'm gonna wait until like 9:05. Oh, you're welcome. Uh, let's see. Gotta pull up my notes. Because I have notes. Yeah, the sun. Yeah, my hair. I don't think my hair's long enough actually, because I've actually looked at like some of Hua Cheng's hair stuff. I would need extensions. My hair is curly, so I probably got like another inch or something if I straightened it out, but not quite. Hi from Poland. Jesus Christ. Hi. That is amazing. Uh, Howdy from Utah. Hello. Hello, Utah. Utah. Oh, that's more tech. That's a Texas draw, because that's where I'm located. Okay. Just a few more minutes. Let some people realize that this is happening, and then I'll start getting into stuff. Oh, East Coast. Hello. Yeah, I saw a couple of people posting about how that they were gonna like stay until 3 a.m. to watch this, and I was like, oh god, that is just insane. I also I completely forgot that Critical Role streams right now. Like I think they start at 9 Central Time. So like I was like, oh, this is a perfect day to do this. Um, but yes, hello, hello. Oh, you're in Denmark. Okay. Empress. I don't. Luxvia? Luxvia? I don't know if it's like a Kingdom Hearts pronunciation. I know you. I know you know your name, but I don't know if you want me to use it on stream. Good evening. It's 7 p.m. where you are. All right. Well, it is officially 9:05. So let's just get this started. And then we will see what happens. Okay. So we're gonna. This is actually hold on. I'm gonna. Cool, recording. Awesome. All right. Well, hello everybody. Oh god, coffee's coming back up. Luxva. Cool. Is not a secret. Okay, your real name's not a secret. Okay, cool. All right. Well, that's a great way to start this whole thing. All right. Well, hello everyone. I'm pretty. Hey Wraith. I'm pretty sure everyone who's going to be attending or who's going to want to watch this at some point already knows who I am, probably knows more about the source material I'm going to be talking about than I do, because you know, as I've mentioned before, I only know the first season of Heaven Official's Blessing, but just for I guess the sake of clarity, I'm gonna just what is the word I'm thinking of? Just start from the beginning. That's what I'm gonna do. This is gonna be this is gonna be it, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be me trying to figure out what to say. Okay, so for like the three people who don't know, or at least in this chat, I am James Cheek. I am the English voice for Hua Cheng in Funimation's English dub of Heaven Official's Blessing. The first volume was released, of the book series that the show is based off of, was released back in December by Seven Seas Manga, and I finished it. I read it to completion, and people were asking me what I thought about it, and so this is where I'm going to be talking about it. A little bit of background for me, aside the fact that I'm the voice of Hua Cheng, the hot ghost king in this story, is that I have a background in writing. I have a creative writing degree, a BA, and then I also work at a production studio as the head writer, where I do a lot of. I do script writing though, so my prose is not something that I'm super familiar with or comfortable with, but I am a writer, and so some of my critiques of the book are going to be coming from that perspective of just sort of things that I didn't like, either felt were weird, or were great, or were, just whatever. That's the perspective I'm coming from, is just someone who plays one of the main characters, and also someone who has been trained on how to put words together in a sentence and make them entertaining or interesting. So let's just start and see where we go. This is going to be informal. This is going to be kind of rambling, and it is going to be basically me making a point, getting distracted, going down a rabbit hole, and then circling back to the point, and then and then just repeating that process until we're finished. At the end, I will stay for whomever is still here, and we can do a little Q&A for however long it ends up being. I don't know how long this review is going to be, so we'll just do it. All right, so my initial thoughts. And this is spoiler filled. Just again, I'm certain that anyone who's going to be watching this has already read it, or has probably already read the like fan translations, or however people found this this web novel before it was picked up by Seven Seas and was localized. But I will be talking about the book. I will be also talking about, and since the book contains the entirety of season 1 of the anime, I will also be talking about the anime, or Donghua. So yeah, so initial thoughts. The slang really threw me for a loop. Hearing or reading Xielian say like things like "nah," or like people say weirdo, or there was at one point where like the phrase "to the max" was used, and I was very confused. And it was for a story that is a fantasy, like a fantasy period drama type thing. It really took me out of the narrative. Seeing like very contemporary, or not even contemporary, it was like 90s slang. Like it was like everyone in the world that is Heaven Official's Blessing, somehow in their centuries or millennia of existing, had experienced the 90s, as it were. And so like there were things, I mean, even the array, the communication array, like that felt like a late 90s, early 2000s chat room, online chat room, especially when Xielian just descends, and he is trying to insert himself in a conversation, and just completely, just kind of makes a fool of himself. And so like that was so weird. It was just so weird. I also realized that I probably should have done a synopsis before getting into those thoughts. So we're going to do this in poor order, and I'm going to briefly surmise the story, which is Heaven Official's Blessing is the story of not a fallen god, but like a disgraced god by the name of Xielian. In this type of story, which is a cultivator trope story narrative, this is a very Chinese kind of story. It's very ubiquitous over there, but over here we don't have a lot of examples of it. And so basically, ascending to godhood just means that you did a bunch of things. You cultivated qi, which is done through like meditation or mastering martial arts, or just doing things that through a variety of things. Usually they are like Buddhist or Taoist religious practices in some way that then cultivate your chi. And anything and everything can cultivate chi. Like, you know, I don't know if inanimate objects can, because I don't think they have chi, but like animals and things like that can do it. So in this world, Xielian, who is the prince of a nation, who's sort of like the golden child of this nation, cultivates chi, ascends to godhood, and then gets dragged into, and then inserts himself into a war that's going on in his kingdom after having ascended to godhood, which then results in him being banished. And then he kind of fucks up his life, and then he did things to cultivate and then ascend to godhood again. And then he then gets kicked out again, and then the story picks up his third ascension, where he has accumulated a bunch of debt because of his ascension, because it wrecked some houses and such, and so now he's on a Scooby-Doo mystery at the behest of the Heavenly Emperor, who's in charge of everything, to pay off those debts. He is then accompanied by some begrudging assistants, and then they solve that problem, and then he meets a plucky young youth, as he is often called in the story, named Sanlong, who may or may not be the epitomous Crimson Rain-sought flower, Hua Cheng, the Ghost King, the uber badass of this series, who is also the main love interest. And turns out he is. Spoilers. And then there's another arc in the story after that initial, like, it goes from Scooby-Doo mystery, meeting Sanlong, and then another thing, and I don't want to spoil that third mystery, just because, in case like 4 people watch this and haven't read the books, I don't want to give away everything. But yeah, so that's the story of Heaven Official's Blessing. As I said before, slang really threw me. It was not as gay as I expected. With the rating of like 17 plus, I thought there was going to be a lot more in this book other than swearing and things like that. I was not expecting swearing. And it's interesting. Swearing to me doesn't take me out of a narrative, because like things like fuck and sort of swear words tend to be like timeless. And so like I didn't mind the swearing as much. It was weird because there was just one character who did it. Oh god, I can't remember Nanfeng Fuyao, can't remember. But yeah, he just swore a bunch. Fuyao, thank you. Fuyao just swore, and that was kind of his that was like his character trait, was he just showed up and was annoyed and swore a lot. But yeah, but not as gay. I genuinely thought it was going to be more overt, but it actually wasn't. The show itself was actually a bit more overt on that. I honestly don't know if I would have. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book. But I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I had not seen the show first, because the pacing of the book and the pacing of the show have similar problems in that they jump straight into stuff. There's a lot of sort of ubiquitous storytelling going on, where there's just sort of this assumption that the audience who's reading this is going to understand or get some of the just macro things that are going, like how cultivation works and stuff. And so then brain. So then it just sort of jumps right in the thick of things. You're not really told why things are important. Things are explained and context is given, but like knowing why this is important or why this is being said or why this is being talked about is not really there. And so it can lead to moments of confusion, and it can lead to some moments that are kind of dull too. Because there's a whole section where they're talking about why one person I think Fuyao can't use his magic to teleport them further, and it's because there's stuff about regionalities and deities where if you were the god of this part of the area, then your power level is such over there, but when you're outside of that area, then you don't have as much, and you just kind of have what you come in with, and you don't want to waste the power that you have, and this whole thing. And so it's an explanation as to why it's not happening. But like it's like to me, like that information is like, okay, why is this important though? Why am I being told this? because it doesn't play into the story. It doesn't play into the narrative, other than it just explains as to why something is not happening. So like the importance of the importance of the information, like why this information is being said and this isn't, is just not there, and that's just I think like a cultural thing. I'm also really curious about like what were localization decisions in the book, because as someone who has localized scripts, especially Mandarin scripts, like, well, it's different for scripts, especially ADR, because you literally cannot get everything in those things. There's just, it seems like Mandarin can fit a lot more information or a lot more context, I guess, in a sentence than English can. And so trying to get everything into one, like every piece of information into one segment is sometimes impossible. And so I'm curious as to like what was changed for an English speaking audience and what was kept the same. Because there was a segment at the very end, and I don't know if this was just a straight like translation or if this was it felt like a straight translation, but I don't know exactly what the decision behind it was, where at the very end, towards the very end, where in the Banyue arc, where Banyue is explaining why why her snake power, like she can't control the snakes, and like within 2 pages, she says, I can't control the snakes anymore. Only sometimes I can't control the snakes. And then there's some snakes I can control and some snakes I can't control. And so she recontextualized her situation 3 different times in the span of a couple of paragraphs, and it was very weird. And I don't know if that was like in the Mandarin, if that type of a progression of an idea is normal, or if it like literally translates to that, but in the Mandarin has different implications. So there was a couple of moments like that I was just curious as to why this was this way and that was that way. But yeah, so it just kind of but the show has something else that the book doesn't have, and that is the perspective is not solely focused on Xielian. It's focused on Xielian and Hua Cheng. And so because in the book, Hua Cheng is pretty much an enigma. He's just kind of this wallflower who knows a bunch of stuff and occasionally chimes in with information, and so then and just like explains things or knows things. I think in the interview that I did with Kichter, his job is to be hot and know things, and that's exactly what he does in the book. But in the show, but in the book, because even though it is a third person narration, because the perspective is so focused on Xielian, and the only really internal monologue that we get is Xielian's, he's not in an emotional position to really understand that someone's hitting on him, and so none of that registers to him. None of the flirty stuff really just sort of sets off any alarms in his head. And so as you read it, he's just sort of there, and just popping in and everything. And the reason why he's around is because Xielian just likes having him around. Like, they just seem to click as people, and so he's just like, cool, all right, I have a friend. I am happy that I have a friend. Stop pestering me about my friend. It's just, I'm just happy that he's here and that he wants to hang out. I don't really give a shit. Whereas in the show, because visually, like, Hua Cheng is there and you see his face and you see all this other stuff, you really get the sense that man is simping on this boy hard, and he is just just really 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 into this guy. And so the flirting is a lot, it's like real flirting in the show more so than it is in the book. Like, he is just super cute in the show, and so that dynamic was a lot more engaging in the show than it was in the book, and so it was easier to watch. Like, the boring bits were easier to watch because of that, those two kind of having that back and forth. Whereas in the book, it was still kind of hard to get through, but because I had seen it already and I knew where it was going, and I knew this, and I knew the story essentially is that I knew if I could just get through, then I could, then I knew like some interesting things would be happening over here or something like that. So I honestly don't know if I actually would have like sat down and read this on my own. I also even I did enjoy the book. I was not expecting to enjoy the book. Um, I have just some internal biases against self-published and like web-published things. Like my brain immediately goes to like Wattpad, filing the serial numbers off, uh, um, like 50 Shades of Grey kinds of stuff. And I do read the manhwa. The manhwa is so gorgeous. Star Ember is such a good artist. Um, but yeah, so like I was not expecting I was not expecting a whole lot. And part of it also was because self-published things, even though it's not an indicator of quality, like if something's self-published, it does not mean that it's inherently bad or good, but it does mean that it was made without, or it's safe to assume that it was made without some type of team behind it, like an editor or something. And so then an editor is there to just help you either focus, like either find problem sections of your story, or or just help you make it better, make it help you punch it up, or help you work out some kinks or something like that. I mean, granted, not every editor is involved in that way, but they do check your progress, and they do help in the creation of a thing, and that does help with just the writer kind of being overindulgent with certain things, or like it makes sense to the writer but it may not make sense to the reader or something like that. And I did get a sense that there was an editor in this story. Not that it was bad, because MXTX, I don't know how to pronounce her. I don't think I've actually seen her name written out. It's a wonderful world that this is playing in, and Xielian and Hua Cheng, especially Xielian, is a really really interesting character, because she has nailed this kind of archetype that I feel very easily falls into like frustrating, like pathetic or annoying or something, like someone who's just really self-effacing, or someone who just kind of like doesn't think much of themselves or something. Whereas Xielian is an incredibly capable person. He's kind of an idiot, but he is he's very very skilled in what he does, and he's very good at kind of just adapting to a situation. But he has been humbled so hard, and he's wrecked his own life so many times that he is just he's learned all the wrong lessons. He's that kind of depressed where he's not thinking about how do I improve my life so that I don't have to feel this way anymore. It's, well, I guess this is reality now, so might as well get used to it. I mean, God, to add some sort of personal notes into this, I have been that depressed. Mental illness runs deep into my family, and thoughts, and that kind of assumption of just like when they asked, like when the attendants show up to his shrine, and they're just but you live here, you sleep here, and Xielian's response is, well, yeah, like I've slept in worse, this is fine, and I was just like, yeah, no, I've had those conversations with people where it's just like, why aren't you trying to improve yourself? And I'm just like, what can I improve? This is what I have. And so in that, I think that's it's very, very good. But it was evident to me that there were just some moments where I was like, I think an editor would have helped out, would have trimmed some fat here. So yeah, yeah. That it is frustrating though that the characters, other than really Xielian, because Hua Cheng's not a flat character, but he's very flat in this book, mainly because he's just an enigma. Like we don't really get a conversation with him, like a real conversation with him, until the very end of the book, when it's revealed that everybody knows who everybody is, and they're just kind of having a really sincere heart-to-heart. Because the initial interaction is while it is a sincere conversation, it's mostly just flirting. But Xielian is really the only rounded character in this narrative. Granted, the story focuses on him, so there's not a need to have to get into like the who, what, where, when, and whys and stuff. But like Nanfeng and Fuyao, I confused them both all the time while I was reading it. Like they were just basically one unit, and the only difference between the two of them was that one rolled their eyes and one swore. It was not they were not that compelling. I know that there's more to the characters. Because while I haven't read ahead, there was more information given in the audition sides for those characters, where I do know who they really are. Um, and so like I understand that there's more to it, and that knowing that actually did help me appreciate um them in the story a bit more, because like the um because I just like, oh, because knowing that and then seeing them how they interact is like, this stuff makes sense. Whereas if I didn't know that, I think I would have just hated those characters. They're just kind of annoying, and they just berate Xielian all the time. And so it was just kind of like, fuck off. So I wasn't super I wasn't super into that. But again, the book, like the book central character is Xielian. It doesn't. There is no need really to flesh out everybody else. Everybody else just kind of needs to function around Xielian's arc in that story. And so it's not a criticism necessarily. It's just I just found them really kind of flat and dull. And but in the show, because the perspective is sort of broadened a bit more to include the dynamic between Xielian and Sanlong, and the show is also kind of written with the understanding of like, I don't know if I guess the book series is done, like the full story is done, and so the show is being written from that perspective, where like all the mysteries have been are out there, and so yeah, all the books are done. Okay, so so then like all the mysteries are out there, so then they're just pacing them better, and so like like the mystery of Sanlong, is he Hua Cheng or is he not Hua Cheng, doesn't amount to anything. It's not super interesting. It's pretty evident that he is, and like in the book, I like how the reveal is where Xielian says, oh yeah, I know you're Hua Cheng, I figured that a long time ago. I think it hits a bit better in the book than it does in the show, but it's also like it's just like hundreds of pages for one payoff, and whereas in the show, like it's very evident, and it just, you don't have to sit there and like be yelling at Xielian the whole time, being like, no, it's this guy, it's Crimson Range Slot Flower, shut, like, pay the fuck attention. So So yeah. Um what's the next thing I want to talk about? I was really surprised at how faithful the show was to the book. Like, it was almost a 1-to-1. I think there was some restructuring, and I mentioned before, like they're like the mysteries are paced out a bit better. But all in all, it the show feels like a polished second draft of the story. So nothing's really changed. It's just kind of punched up a little bit, in my opinion. But it is still really faithful. Like to the point where I was genuinely surprised that almost every scene in the book is in the show. Like, I think the only scene that was in the book that wasn't in the show early on, was the was the chat room scene when Xielian's just wandering around the array, just I guess like astral projected or something into the array, and he's just joining different conversations and making himself, like just making conversations super awkward. And so yes, happy to see Dick Yang. Yeah, same. I actually like that a little bit. I like how that was handled in the localization than it was in the book, because the book, it was just like virile youth or something. Although I did like the context of the broom, the broom joke. I didn't realize that when everybody meets, when the attendants meet Sanlong and Xielian at his temple, and the attendants are being like, what the fuck's he doing here? When Sanlong throws the broom at Nanfang, that was an insult to him, that was that he was throwing shade. When I was doing that scene in the show, I just thought he was like he was just teasing him, like, oh, he's an underling or something. Like, he's an underling of a guy that they don't like. I did not realize that it was, no, this is a very specific and was it Fuyao? Oh, was I wrong? Oh. But it was a very specific and directed insult. I apologize. I didn't realize it was they're basically the same guy. Leave me alone. But yeah, it was just a directed insult at him, and I thought that was very funny. Yeah, there was a couple of things at the book gave more context, like especially the prologue where it went into the background of Xielian, and because in the show it just sort of says, oh yeah, he did like he did, like Xielian did all these things and he was super cool, but now he's not cool, and it's not really shown as to like why. And then in the prologue it's shown, oh, he was super cool, and then he wrecked his life, and he wrecked his life multiple times, and then now we're in the story. And so that really let me understand Xielian a lot more as to like why he is the way he is, because I thought he was just kind of like that from the get-go. I didn't realize that this was something that was the result of someone who had just failed so miserably, and it was so much his own fault, that he just had to live with that. Like, there just wasn't anything that he could do to sort of shift blame or anything like that. He just had to live in his own failure for centuries, for 800 years. And yeah, so yeah, and the curse shackles. Yeah, that was another thing too. In the book, that was a detail that I appreciated. I also don't remember. I don't remember if the show gets into the one on his ankle. I know that it gets in the one on his neck, and that's the most visually interesting. So I understand why it focuses on it. But a lot of quiet digs. Yes, there seems to be a lot more shade is thrown in the book than is in the show, which the show is already full of shade. It shows it briefly. Okay. Is implied at first sight. Oh yeah, that's right, because he like looks at his feet or something and has like a weird moment. But yeah, so let me see some of my notes. Let's see. Sprung. Let's see. His ankle and neck when he notices San Long staring at him. Yeah, I remember that now. Oh yeah, I like that his just another sort of random thing. In the book, I like that Ruye, I think it's, I'm gonna butcher his name, but the scarf that is his weapon. I like that it's sort of just like a pet in the book. In the show, it's just kind of a thing that's there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the phonemes to pronounce that name correctly. I apologize. But yeah, so yeah, he's just a little pet. He's just a little he's just an adorable little thing. And also just that little moment where like he was super comfortable, or like he was just like like just a dog, just being protective of Xielian, and then not and then like in not freaking out when San Long is using him to help with this snake bite and stuff like that, like that was really cute. And it also makes sense as to why, because there's that scene in the desert when they all get caught up in the sandstorm, when he sends out Ruye and he gets San Long, and then he gets and then he gets Nanfang and Fuyao, and then he finally grabs a rock and helps him save. Like, it makes sense as to why he's doing, like, why he's not being as he's not behaving in the way that Xielian wants him to, because he's his own thing, and he's doing his own, really is the shipper. Yes, yeah, he's a Hualien stan, and he just wants them to be together so much. But yeah, so I liked that I liked that it was like I think someone mentioned like a Disney sidekick, like a magical Disney movie companion. Yeah, like I like that he was like that in the story. Whereas in the show, because it gave context to at least one scene, because in the show it just sort of happens, and it's just like, why the fuck is his scarf not working? It doesn't really say much. And so this seems to be about it for my notes on the story. Some things that I would like to know, just in future volumes, is that I want to know who sent who sent Shalian the flesh puppet that brought him to Banye, because that is not talked about at all. Like, they just, I mean, yeah, no spoilers. I'm saying this as like, these are things that I'm thinking about as time goes forward. I am not asking for spoilers. I am just saying this. I suspect that they'll get into it. Like, something that, like a lot of these different things, warning chat. Thank you. But yeah, so like, it's the book was written well enough to where I trust MXTX to answer that question later on. Like, it doesn't seem to be a random thing that's going to be left hanging, like some sort of hanging chad. For those people born in the 90s know that word. Just this hanging chad in the narrative where it's just sort of like, oh, because they move past it really quickly. Like, they go immediately into the like this sort of pseudo trial of Pi Jr., and then he gets sent to the Ghost City. Because yes, I read the manga, so I know where that begins, or the manhwa. So I understand, but I am curious as to like who got him involved in this political clusterfuckery, and what was their aim in involving him in this clusterfuckery? Because he doesn't seem to have any friends, so it seems to be just like someone wants to either use him as a way to root out something, or you're in for a wild ride. Oh, good, I have something to look forward to. Shout out to fellow 90s children. Yes, 90s, a year, or a decade. But yeah, so there's that. I want to know more. Granted, Hua Cheng is the kind of character where not knowing everything about him serves him better than having like a full like prequel series dedicated to explaining how he got there and what he did and why and all this other stuff. Because while yes, he is like, his main motivation is Xielian, and and his devotion and love for him, but he lived his own life. He became the Ghost King. He became the ruler of Ghost City, and not all of that was for, as best as I can tell. I would be surprised if it was all for Xielian. Like, that would be creepy to me. And he doesn't seem like he'd be that creepy. And so, like, yeah, he's just a badass bitch, very much so. And so, like, I want to know, Sweet Summer Child. Oh, well, that's just disconcerting. But anyway, chat, don't get super into it. But just why he went to, I forget the name of the volcano city, but just the city where all the ghosts fight, and then they become, and then whoever survives is an uber ghost. Tonglu, thank you. Tonglu, a Mandarin word that I don't know the phonemes to say. 11 at 135th way through TGZ. Yes. Yeah, this is explained way later. Okay, well then I won't worry about it. But yeah, but just like all those. Well, I'm glad that actually, I guess, answered, because it is just this very specific, like, that's the last arc. Mount Furnace makes me okay. Yeah, and so like why he was there, why he went through all of that. I also want to know more about like what Xielian did to cultivate chi for his second and third ascensions, because his first ascension was on purpose, most definitely. The second ascension, from the context that was given, also seems to be on purpose, but for the specific reason as to why it kicked him out of like what he ascended to do a thing, and then that got kicked him out of heaven. The third ascension seems to be an accident. We'll find out part of that. Okay, yeah. So the third ascension seems to be 100% on accident. And he doesn't seem to like it just doesn't seem to be wanting, not wanting, but just was not expecting to be there, and is kind of embarrassed that it happened. And so and also like the trials too, because they mention that they have to go through some type of trial in order to ascend, and that, you know, like slaughtering a city is something that happens on the, you know, is something that could easily happen on the way. Thank you for also not spoiling at this point of my musings. But yeah, he fucking ascended again. Did I like the intro? Yes, I did. I actually tweeted that. And I was like, why wasn't this in the Donghua? This is a hilarious line. But yeah, just like what was it that he did to cultivate chi, and what was it that he did that was his sort of test to then allow him to ascend? His life was a trail. Ha. You know, so like those are mysteries that I'm looking forward to and learning more about. I don't expect those to be answered pretty soon. I expect those, like, I think, you know, people were saying that like some of these things are like the final arc and stuff, and so I expect those to be answered later. But yeah, those are things that I'm thinking about and I'm curious about. And oh yeah, one other thing. I really wish that the Donghua had shown Xie crushing boulders on his chest. Like that was the thing that he kept referencing as like he would busk, he would scrap collect, he would do all these other things. And for someone who is not, you know, not who's not the initially intended audience for this story, and having that sort of like ubiquitous nature of like, oh yeah, I understand, like I get what scrap collecting is in this scenario, in this point in history, in this culture or something like that, but like I don't know what that is, but you can kind of get it through context clues. So like I didn't necessarily need to, you know, so like seeing him wander around and do stuff in the show, I'm assuming he's scrap collecting or busking or something. But the crushing boulders on his chest is such a specific thing. And I want that like waif of a human all in all white just to fucking crush boulders in front of a crowd and just you know, totally just and like awkwardly perform this massive feat of strength. And just do that for people. That would have been so funny to just see him do that, to trying book 4. Is it? Oh, so it does. Well, okay, it happens in the books. I'm saying in the show. But yeah. Let's see, the beginning's a bit rough, but everything from Gambler Center after, I think you enjoy much more super deep and interesting. I got that sense. Like the first book just felt like a 300 plus page meet cute. It was. Yes, Gaga is buff. It was like, it just felt like more like this was just setting up the world, which is interesting too, because as internationally successful as this franchise or this story is, this isn't the strongest outing for a book 1. It's okay. It's solidly okay. It's not terrible. There's some things in there that I'm curious about, but I'm mainly curious about them because I have an understanding of the larger world, not because this one book convinced me of things. And so I'm just like, so I assumed that because there is such a fervor around this story, that there's a lot more interesting stuff later on. I mean, even in the manhwa, like this scene, like just seeing the ghost city as it's being, you know, shown now and stuff. You know, that's really interesting. So yeah, so I'm really excited for book 2. I'm really excited for season 2. You know, I'm also curious as to if Seven Seas will do an audiobook. That would be fun. Just putting that idea out there. But yeah, so it's just involving. All right, well, that is about it for my review, book report, whatever the fuck this thing was, of and also English dub for the live action. That I don't know if they're gonna do that, because the Netflix hasn't localized or done an English dub for The Untamed, and they've had that for years. They've had that for like 3 years now or something. So like I, I would be. I mean, granted, I think there's a renewed interest because of Heaven Official's Blessing being kind of being hot in the crowd of people that would be watching The Untamed. So they did it for Squid Game. Yeah. But Squid Game they produced. I think there's a different story behind it. There's also has a local dub in Wii TV. I have no idea what that is. The is old, not TGF is newer. Yeah. Would probably never. Yeah, again, like I don't know if they're going to dub it or not. I think it would have to I think also The Untamed was a bit of a sleeper hit for Netflix. Like I'm pretty sure that's why they got the rights, or I would think as to why they got the rights to the to Heaven Official's Blessing, to stream Heaven Official's Blessing, in addition to Funimation. Because like The Untamed, or because properties from this writer are kind of like gaining momentum in this specific niche that it is that it fills. So yeah, Squid Game was produced by Netflix. TGS live action was not. TGCF was that's a not Tencent. Is that Billy? I think Billy also produced that. I don't know. I am not I'm not keeping tabs on the live action. It would be great. Like I would love if everybody from the Funimation cast got to localize that show too. That would be really fun. I think, and just the just sort of allowing I mean I love playing this guy. I love playing this character. The Messiah of Danmei. So yeah. So I mean I know we're just chatting right now, but if you guys have any for however long I guess want to keep going, if you guys have any questions for me, or if you guys just want to, I don't know, muse about this show a bit more, I'll just keep reading what the when Eternal Faith really I will be feral. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. No, he's a very fun character to play. People keep warning me that he's not, that he's a bit more than what meets the eye, but I also I think that that's true. I also think that I think I have a at the very least my my perspective on him seems to be working really well, and I think that I have an understanding of him because I'm playing him, because I have to pretend to be him, that I have a different understanding, and so I don't think it's exactly what other people are saying. Hang on. Do you have any headcanons about Hua Cheng? Headcanons. I kind of talked about those in the interview with Kichter, where like I think he just has this very specific view. Like I don't, I mean, granted, people have been warning about like stuff he did in his down the line, but I don't necessarily think that he's like as obsessive as someone who's carried a, as what you would expect as someone who's carried a torch for 800 years. But who knows? But other than headcanons, not particularly. Mostly, mainly just because my job is to play him, and so I'm just trying to understand him as a character. Will you do video reviews of the books when they come out? I don't know. I'll have to see. Introduced me to Guys and Dolls, brought me a lot of joy. Thank you. I love guys. Yeah, I love my little podcast with my bro. He oh god, we didn't think anyone was gonna listen. I mean, no one did. Like that's the hilarious thing, is that no one listened to that podcast. Like we have finished the Barbie canon, the Barbie film canon, aside from maybe like one or two things, one thing, but we're waiting for doing something specific with that. But like season 3's done, which is being edited right now. It's just taking forever. But we were going to fully produce a whole, like 50 or so, give or take, podcast series, just because we fucking liked doing it. And so like, we were not, so like what everyone is enjoying is exactly what we were going to be doing, regardless of if anyone listened to it or not. and the fact that so many people have found it now and have enjoyed it brings us a lot of joy. It's very happy to see that other people are being entertained by stuff that we're just having fun. Any predictions or theory about the story? Other than Hua Cheng is gonna know things and be hot? Not really. What do you think of the side eye he gave the ghosts in the forest? It's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah, I like the moments where he's just kind of like he's like I don't want to go all, like full Ghost King here, but guys, fuck off. Moments like I like that scene. I also liked it when he exploded the snakes, because he was just like, you bit my shelly and go fuck yourself. Yeah, I thought those were very telling of his character, because I think he is a shit. Like, I don't think he's a good guy, really. I think his desire for Xielian tempers a lot of his more shittier traits, but I don't think he's that great of a guy. I think he's just kind of an asshole. But I love him for it. Let's see. Will we be here if you do another stream? Oh, we will be here. Oh, cool. Okay. What do you think about the 4 Ghost Kings? They only really got introduced so far. I think someone mentioned the green one. Green Moore is what he's in the show. I don't remember what he's in the thing. Oh, by the way, I'm going really slow through the chat right now, so just sorry if I'm getting to these really late. But I don't have a lot of opinions on them. I'm curious about them. And from what I can gather, they have more of a role in the story later on, but I don't know anything. I need to watch Barbie Diaries. Okay, sure. Just watch the show. Just watch season 3, or listen to season 3. So did you think Sanlong can see out of both his eyes or just the one? That's interesting. I think because he's a Ghost King, he doesn't need eyes. I think he just has some sort of like cultivated supernatural perception. And I think that his just having the one eye is something that he just has to live with, because he removed it at some point in his life before he became an immortal. But I think that I don't think he necessarily needs both of his eyes. Now, granted, if gun to my head, do I think that he actually can see out of both eyes? No. I think because Sanlong is a shape change, but it's still his same body. So I think it's more of just an aesthetic thing. But yeah, Ep 6 where they introduce thoughts on episode 6 where they introduced the Ghost Kings. I thought that was episode 5 when they introduced the Ghost Kings. Like I said, I'm interested, but I don't really know. I love Will. He's hilarious. He's some of my favorite quotes of the podcast. Yes, Will is hilarious, and I also love the fact that he's become slightly more popular than me when it comes to the podcast. I love that. What did you think of this? Answered that one. What did you think of 2 sidekicks of Shailene? So, like, what did I think of the attendants? They're funnier in the show. I think that it also helps that the actors who are playing them, whose names escape me right now, they just do a great job, and they're just really great in playing those characters and also getting the sass as well. This is a very sassy show. He's a bitch to everybody. Let's see. Looking for another thing. Do you think the book has given you any extra content that changes how you view the show, acting choices, making the future? No. I think it reaffirmed a lot of my decisions, my internal decisions, and I think it gave me permission to lean into them more, but it hasn't changed much of anything. I think the most that it did was that it not only just like reaffirmed some things, but it was like, oh, okay, this is the version of Xielian, this is the version of Xielian that Hua Cheng fell in love with. This, like, the prince, the crown prince, is who he sees, even though I think he acknowledges that that Xielian has fallen. Like, I don't think he's blind to reality, but that was the version of him, like him at his best, essentially, is who he sees and what brought him to fall in love with him. So that was nice for me to know. But I already had kind of an idea that he had not an idealized version of him, well, an idealized version, but not to the point where it's just like, like it's unrealistic to the character. Windmaster English voice is good. Yes, she is. Although I don't, because I have no idea who's going to be the other half of Windmaster when he shows up. Have you come across any TGF fan arts that confuse or intrigue you? Like you wonder what the context is in the story, whether it's actually canon or not. No, not really. There's some AU stuff that's interesting that I don't know, that I'm curious as to where that came from. I mean, like there seems to be like a gangster theme, which there's that one Star Ember picture where they're just sort of like, they look like gangsters, and so I guess it comes from that. But there's not anything that the only thing that the fan art confuses me on is how physical their relationship is going to get, because some of it clearly is just like, thirst trapping this ship and just having them like, mac on each other or just go to Pound Town or something. But just like there's some things where like they're really cute and they're like, kind of pecking on each other and stuff, and I'm just like, do they kiss? Like, is that do they smack, do they like suck face a little bit? Do they ever make out? I'm curious. I would want them to, because God knows Hua Cheng wants that. It's just a twink Sona. He is a twunk. He is not a twink. He is a twunk. Episode 9 of the dub will come out this week or delayed further. I have no idea. I would assume it's coming out this week, but I have no idea. Now I'm curious, what's Hua Cheng's real name? Same. I have no idea. We love this and to know. I'm interested to know more about your career, how you got into the industry, etc. That's a hard question to ask, or a hard question to answer, because I don't know. My career is as such. I've done a handful of things, background stuff for Funimation. The only other named character was in a show called Eldlive, where I played a homicidal bubblegum alien named Alien Gumshoe Joe, or Alien Gumshoe Jim or something. And I tried to murder the two leads, which were played by Don... Oh, God, what's her last name? Bennett? Don Bennett? And Morgan Berry. Like, I just tried to murder them. And he was a delightful little shit. Again, I seem to be playing little shits. But other than that, I had not done anything really professionally. I have been pursuing this for roughly 7 years up until now. And I don't have a background in performance. Growing up, not to go into too much detail, but I was raised in a toxically religious home, and so for a good chunk of my life, and so the thought of pursuing artistic things, especially like acting and stuff, was not on the table because of just the culture around that stuff. Like, actors are hedonists, and I don't want to pretend to be, I don't want to I don't ever want to do a sex scene with someone, because oh my God, that's like so close to actually have just, I don't know, it's just a whole thing. I mean, there's some people in the industry who are religious in that way, and they make they have those rules for themselves. I cannot remember. There's one actor who very famously does not do romance scenes with people because of his religious convictions. But yeah, so I never did any of that stuff. It wasn't until that I started pursuing this career again, like 7 years ago, that I even started training as an actor. Now, it was mostly focused on voice acting. Around that time, the Dallas area was starting to, all of the Funimation people were starting to host classes. Because how my experience, I don't know if this is true, but my experience was that Sonny was the first one to start doing it, Sonny Strait. Because he always wanted to be a teacher. That was part of his career goal, was to teach acting at some point. So he started a whole thing, and I started with him, and then I just started moving around different teachers and stuff like that. And so then I just kept taking classes for years. But about 3 years ago, I kind of quit. It wasn't working. I had gotten to a point of my skill where I thought I was of a certain talent bracket, and I felt like I had kind of grown beyond certain marketplaces, as it were. Like I had done some fan stuff early on that I was like, I'm not gonna do fan stuff anymore. Um, I was on a pay to play site that I felt was unfair to my time and my skill and the kind of work I was putting in. So I quit that, and then I just started pursuing professional work, and it just wasn't happening. And so then around that time was when I got involved with Extra Terrible, the studio that I'm currently at, that we are going to be moving from here in a couple of days, because most of what we do is remote. We don't need this big space anymore. But I got involved here, and I started doing behind the scenes production stuff. I started writing again, which was something that I had kind of put on the back burner for a while. But yeah, I started writing scripts, like demo scripts and localization stuff. And then I found out that I started directing here as well, and I found out that I really like directing, and that I'm good at it, which surprised shit out of me. So I thought that's kind of where I was gonna go. Like I figured I was gonna be more on the production end of things. I did not expect to get cast anything. I kept auditioning for stuff because that's just what you do. But it was not with the expectation of really getting anything, and also just sort of feeling like I didn't fit into anything comfortably. Because I mean, I would have never cast myself as Hua Cheng. And so like he would never. So like just because he was one of 4 characters that I could audition for was the reason why I went for him. It was not because I thought I had a shot. It was just like there's these characters I can, they're all kind of in my age range, so I'll go for these guys, because you don't want to just do one character. You kind of want to shotgun as many as you can. And so yeah, so it wasn't so like I just kind of basically given up on acting. And that proved true for like 3 years. So it wasn't like I quit and then all of a sudden things turned around. It's like, no, I quit and then I started focusing on something else, and then this just happened to happen years later. So like I haven't done a whole lot, and how I got here is weird. And I also I don't, even though I've spent how many minutes talking about this whole journey, I'm not super keen on like not talking about it, but just like I worry about mythologizing my my story into getting this, because something that was, I don't know if this is something that other people, I'm certain it's something that other people deal with, but something that usually happened to me was when in listening to, like, I love interviews with people in fields that I'm interested in, either professionally or just I'm curious about how this thing works or something. And with actors, everybody asks, oh, how'd you become an actor? How'd you get in? And so there's 1,000,001 different origin stories, but they all have, but they have some things in common, namely that people were interested in this when they were young, and they had done things when they were young, or they had exploited certain opportunities when they were young. And they had been involved in this for a long time or something like that. Like, acting usually ends up being some type of lifelong pursuit, it seems. And I was not that guy. That is not my story at all. I started this pretty late. I was in my mid-20s. I'm now 32. Yeah, I was at the age when people start breaking into the industry. I was not someone that I saw, even in like voiceover, stuff. My narrative was not something that I saw anywhere. So I didn't think I really had a place in this industry in this capacity. So yeah, so I don't ever, and so like it's disheartening to hear these sort of like, oh yeah, like straight narrow pathway or straight line pathways, it seems, like this person's like, oh yeah, well I did this in high school and then I did this and this and this, and you can see the progression of the sort of natural progression of like, well of course they're here now, whereas for me is like, no, like I believe this stuff was of Satan for most of my life. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm playing a gay character. Like, that is so fucking far removed from who I was only a few years ago. That it is mind-boggling that this is happening, to me. And so like I kind of, so I don't want to do that for other people. So like I don't ever want to mythologize or just like give a really nice clean answer to that question. But it's just it's really weird. Like I gave, like I gave up. I wasn't doing it for a long time and I got lucky. Is kind of the short of it. And so yeah, it's been a long time on that question, but that's sort of how I got into it. And like I said, I don't have a lot to my name right now. If you want to see other stuff that I've worked on, I mentioned the short films that I adapted and directed here at Extra Terrible, the False Memory and A Bedtime Tale, and I encourage everybody to go watch those. Those are phenomenal. And on top of that, both of those animation studios are working on some big shit right now. Like they are gonna come out with something in the next couple of years that is going to be fucking amazing, and it's based off of those two things. So I really suggest you guys go check those out. In all forms, Hua Cheng is in love with Shelley in all forms, high and low. Very, very true, very true. What thing stood out to you the most about the book? What made you go, oh wow, the slang? Like it wasn't a oh wow, like I'm genuinely surprised, like oh wow, why is this here? There wasn't any new revelations in the book that weren't in the show initially, so I didn't have any of those things other than learning better context of like pre-Third Ascension Shelian. That stuff I had like I think learning that was like kind of an oh wow moment for me, but not a whole lot. I'm so new to this series as well. Haven't official blessings. I want to know more about Hua Cheng Shelian's relationship. Yes, I agree. Just an opinion. How far do you think Hua Cheng's devotion to Shelian can go? It can go to some dark and scary places. Like I wouldn't put it past him to be creepy and obsessive. Like I think that's in his wheelhouse as a person. But the way that he treats Shelian when he's around him, there is so much respect and deference. And it's not in a way that you would, because he does worship him as his god, but the way that he interacts with him is not how you interact with a deity. Like he does not, the way that he interacts with him is not some, in the book maybe a bit more, but not in the show certainly, where he engages him as an equal. And he is engaging him as a person, not as a figurehead or as someone who has a power over him. And so that's why I say that like Shelian, or that Hua Cheng's like love and devotion to Shelian is not creepy, is because of how he behaves himself around him, and how he is not creepy and obsessive, and he's respectful. And he is he's attentive, but he's not doing any sort of social faux pas. He's still very poised, but he's also very very enamored. Like it just seems really the way he interacts with him seems pretty healthy in his love of him. But no, I think it could go to some scary fucking places. Have you seen the Christmas Star Ember fan art? I think I have, but I don't know. They're pretty much skinship poster boys. Well, that's fun. I'm looking. Okay, it's 17 plus for a reason. Yeah, that's what I thought. Can't say anything. I don't know what you're responding to because it's been a while. Kictor. Oh, Kictor's here. Oh, hi, Kictor. I just realized that you're here now. I love how the manhwa Hua Cheng never removes his hands from Keka's waist. Yeah, he's always okay. The manhwa is like almost pornographic. Like he has got some pornographic levels of man cleavage in the manhwa that I'm here for, but as a straight man I'm here for, but like Jesus fucking Christ, like Star Ember, I am utterly convinced that Star Ember is a homosexual male, because fuck the absolute thirst that is brimming off of Sanlong, which is not supposed to be his hot version. It's supposed to be his toned down version. Is just like Jesus Christ. Also, the way that I don't know if Star Ember's actually a guy. I think I've seen he, him pronouns used for Star Ember. But like the other things I've seen, like the dragon stuff that he did, and that's just horny. I have never heard of you either until Heaven's Blood. Yeah, no, nor should you. I had not done anything that was worth remembering, really. Like Eldlive was a really great show to work on because Sonny Strait directed that, and he brought me in specifically because I had been taking his classes, and he's like, I've got a part for you, and it's perfect. And it was so much fun. Like, it was just so much fun. So like I love doing it, but it's not the greatest show in the world. Well, you got your big break now, and yeah. I mean, you could argue that I already have a big break, and this is just kind of like getting lucky on top of that. Like, so here's the thing. It's rare to get cast in anything, even as an extra. I mean, because, you know, like voiceover is a lot different in that regard than like live action, because live action, all you got to do is just like be where it is. I'm talking about being an extra. Like being an extra in live action, you just got to be where it is and then sign a waiver, and then that's it. You know, like it's not super hard to just kind of like be in a crowd of people or something. Being like an extra who speaks is a bit more rare, and that's a whole different thing. But just getting the opportunity to be a part of something really just depends on your location. Being pulled in as like an extra voice in something, especially a place like Funimation, is really fucking rare. Funimation has literally thousands of people available to them in the Dallas area. Like, there is a ton of actors here, even before the last probably like 5 or 6 years, where there was this mass exodus or mass migration of people here to this area, pursuing voiceover for Funimation, you know, trying to get into Funimation. But like they just, you know, it's not that they had the pick of the litter necessarily, but they could pick and choose who came, but they still and always have been able to pick and choose who comes in, or at least for the last, like, you know, 20 years or so. And so, you know, like they are not at a loss for people who are trying to do something. So to be pulled in for anything is a rare privilege. And so that's already rare on top of that. To be pulled in for a character who has like an actual line is even more rare. Like an actual character that people interact with is rarer on top of that. Being cast as a lead is rarer on top of that. Being cast as a lead who's a fan favorite character is rarer on top of that. Being cast as a fan favorite lead character in a series that already has an established fan base, like rabid fan base, is rarer than that. And then being cast as a fan favorite character in a franchise with pre-established fan base, rabid fan base, who you match what they're looking for in the character, is some godly level of luck that I still cannot wrap my head around. I love the fact that you guys are enjoying what I do, and I'm very happy that I'm checking all these boxes for you with this character, and I truly love this guy. And so it's just very serendipitous in how it's all working out. But like, just the positive reaction to this dub, how positive it is rare, and it's something I wish more people talked about. Because just seeing how, like, the only complaint that I have seen about our dub of this show has been either people who just don't like dubs to begin with, which is fair. You know, like, I mean, there's some shows where I prefer the sub over the dub. That's just how it works. You know, so like that's everyone to their own. But the only real complaint I've seen is just our localization of Gaga, and that's it. And that is not a major complaint. Like, for the things that could be complained about, that is not huge. And so this whole thing is just so serendipitous. I was raised as Jehovah's Witness, so I had to sneak to take theater arts in high school. Jesus Christ. Oh man, I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I was it was another thing entirely. It was very alt-right doomsday prepper kind of stuff. that I don't want to go into detail about, not because I'm unwilling to talk about it, just because that's going to be another like 3 hours of us here, just me talking about my childhood. So like, I don't know a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses. I understand how strict they can be, but Jesus, see this. And the other thing too is that like there wasn't things that I loved enough to like break the rules, you know, and and stuff that I was interested in. Like, I benefited from my dad, who was the major influence of the religious aspect of things, of him just being a shitty dad and being very lazy. So I could read stuff like comics and things like that, and he never paid that close attention. He would guilt me. He would, you know, he would like gaslight me into get rid of the stuff myself. But he never was he never was like the kind of dad who would come in and like burn all of my things. Like he would manipulate me into doing that myself. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Have you watched the Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation? I have seen bits of episodes. I have not seen the whole thing. I'm curious about it though. But mainly because you can get it all for free on YouTube. And legitimately for free on YouTube. You're the perfect watch. Thank you. I love your voice for him. Thank you. I got the Grandmaster. Both have. I'm new to both. Yeah, you and me. We're all new here. Wait here. Also thirding the GDC question. Yeah, no, I'm aware of it. I have not sat down and watched it. May I ask, who are the other characters you auditioned for, and what were your voices like for them? I auditioned for Xielian, Hua Cheng, and Fuya, I think. Xielian was my voice, just a bit more meek. You know, just sort of up here, kind of like, hey, you know, what's going on? Hua Cheng was just my modal voice. What I do in the show was not what I auditioned. I don't know how this worked. What I do in the show is not my audition, which begs the question of how the fuck I got cast. Because that voice is resting at the top of my chest. It's a thing that I've learned how to do. Because I tried to, I had another story of how I taught myself how to do that. But just being able to kind of like cheat resonance, where I just kind of have it like, because my voice, as you can tell, my voice isn't super deep. But just being able to kind of rest it in my chest and have that sort of slightly bassier thing, even though I'm very much a tenor. That happened when I just started doing the first lines, and that was me leaning into being, you know, just like, oh, okay, he's gushing, and so I was being very sweet and sincere, and I was trying to kind of, you know, just leaning into the emotion of that moment. But what I auditioned, or at least in my opinion, what I auditioned with the character is not what I do in the show. And then Non-Fung, I think, was just my voice as well, just a bit more attitude. How do you get into Hua Cheng's timbre? Like I said, you know, it's just sort of resting right here, and you know, and then when and so this is just my sexy voice. Hello, what's going on? Do you plan on reading other works? Not really. While I do enjoy Heaven Official's Blessing, it's not a genre that I usually. I'm more interested in the genre as like a medium, or as like a literary genre, than I am engaging with it and reading it. Like, I want to learn more about like cultivator stories, and I want to learn more about these kinds of stories, just because I don't know much about them, and I love stories. That's why I'm in this whole fucking mess to begin with, is I just love fucking stories. And so sorry, put a different emphasis on that in my brain. And so I'm not interested necessarily in the narrative of her other works, especially Scumbag, or the first one that she did, mainly because I don't like the gamification of fantasy. I do not like, you know, stories where like, oh, I got sucked into a fantasy world, but it's an MMO. I'm just immediately check out. Like, to me, that just completely ruins all tension in the story, and I'm just like, it's a video game. Fucking treat it like a video game. Don't treat it like a story. We love how you voice Hua Cheng. Thank you. You were still young. I am still young. I'm I'm not old. Old for someone starting in this career, I would say. I'm 34. Well, congratulations. I'm probably just catching up to some things. I'm way behind on this chat. Hold on. Let me speed through some of this. Oh, here's a big chunk of things. Oh, that's just an opinion. That's not a question. What is gold? Oh my god. What a clip. Yeah. God, let's see. Sorry if I skip over some things. I'm just trying to catch up to where the chat is right now. I used to be a Buddhist nun. My mother was. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay, am I caught up? Oh, cool. Am I caught up? See, do you play any video games? Anywhere you can see streaming here on Twitch. I don't know. That's part of what tonight is that I don't really know if I want to do this or not. It's certainly a viable revenue stream for a lot of voice actors because voiceover doesn't pay the bills. Especially anime. Anime pays fuck all. It's just amazing to do. It's so fun. And the stories you get to do are so interesting because they're coming from a culture that is not ours, and so like the perspectives and stuff are really cool. But I do play video games. I've mentioned this before, but I have ADHD. So like I get hooked on a game for a while and then I move on from it after it becomes boring to me. Like I used to play Guild Wars for a lot, and then right now my current game that I waste time with is Warframe. But I think I'm getting to a point where like the problem with a lot of like games like that is that there's a social angle to them that keeps you invested in them, and I normally don't have a social structure that allows for that to happen. I mean, like I used to play Destiny 2 quite a bit, and I had friends who played Destiny 2, but very rarely would I play with friends. Only recently have I have a group where my older brother and his best friend and I play games. And that's just for the three of us, and that is fucking amazing. And so like we played Borderlands 3, and then we've been playing Baldur's Gate. But as far as like streaming stuff, I really don't know. I'm still on the fence about this. Is a parody of the genre. It's genuinely hilarious. Recommended good laugh. Yeah, see, it's a parody of a genre that I don't know anything about though. So like I'm certain it's funny because from what I have heard or seen, it's funny. But like I don't know what genre tropes it's making fun of, other than maybe like generic like wuxia like kung fu movie stuff. Since you write scripts, if you could translate Gaga as something that is not Shelian's name, what would you translate it to? That's a good question. I think you do justice in saying his name because the respect of what you're doing is great. Yeah. So here's the thing. I think Howard mentioned this before, but translating it to Shelian was not the original translation. The original translation was just Lien, which is something that happened more than likely because the best guess that we could gather is that the translator was translating to the assumption of what would make sense to an English-speaking audience, because we culturally don't have an issue with names being one syllable. And Shelian is like its full name too. It's like calling someone James Cheek, or just like and always calling by their full name. Like that's weird to us. But again, thank God for Howard. And I also was aware of this because of some other things that I had learned on my own prior to going into the first session. But we understood, or the right people understood, that just having that name there would be weird for everyone involved, not just native Mandarin speakers. So, and on top of that, Lien doesn't match the flaps of Guga nearly as well as Shelian does. So we ended up changing it, and then that's just what's worked so far, and that has been, I think, the best decision. If I would change it, I don't think I would have changed it to anything else, honestly. There isn't an English equivalent that carries the same like social and societal connotations as Gaga does. Like it's such a very specific relationship that we kind of have some equivalence for, but we don't have a good one, and one that works in the same way, because Gaga is not bro, it's not slang, if I understand it correctly, or rather it's not that informal, I should say. um and so and so there really is, so like that was kind of the best thing that we could do, honestly, and I don't think I would have changed it. I think I would have if I was translating. Now granted, I've adapted scripts, I have not translated, so like I don't know Mandarin. But in the scripts that I have adapted, like I would use his full name, and that's just kind of what it would be. And again, like the problem would be how I say the name, and I just have to translate the right emotions into saying his name in the way. Um, how? Oh, let's see. Here we go. Make much. Don't make much doing this. Yeah. Well, that's the fucking business. Let's see. How to ask, but how do you feel about playing a gay character since you mentioned it? So here's the thing. I'm not that guy anymore. I recently, oddly enough, probably around the same time that I started working here, so like 3 years or so, I started, I cut myself out of that toxic part of my life, even though it took up like a third of it almost, or actually no, more than half of my life was sort of trapped in that space. But I cut myself out of it, sort of like hard, dramatic, go fuck yourself, cut yourself out. And then as time has progressed, I've been in therapy and been working on myself, more than my career. And I'm a very, very different place. I'm not religious anymore. I went through some experiences in the last couple of years where I've really sort of lost my connection, not my connection to my faith, but just I've lost the belief in it, essentially. Like I've become an atheist. And playing a gay character is vindicating for me. I was a little worried about it at first, because as a straight guy playing a gay character, I understand the importance of representation, especially for the queer community, which I think most of the fans of this series are. Like, Jesus Christ, I have not seen a cishet anybody in the fan base, as far as I could tell. So like I was a little bit worried that people would be disappointed in me being a cishet white guy. But for me, being able to play a gay character and to play him believably and to play him with sincerity, to me is vindicating, because it means that I've come to a place where I no longer see that group of people as inhuman, which I did for a long period of time. I'm not very proud of that. But yeah, so to me, it shows how much I've grown, essentially, and I'm very, very happy I'm able to do that. How do you react to all this happening? I saw the tweet and everyone thirsting of your voice. Yeah, that was fucking weird. The question is, how'd Will react to all this is happening? I saw his tweet over Thursday. Yeah, it hit him hard. It hit him in a very specific way. It was different for me, but it was very weird for him, in small part because he also got dragged into it a little bit, because people have been watching or listening to the podcast and they've become fans of him in addition to me. And then they'll react to some of the shit that he does. And he's just like, why is this spillover? It's so fucking weird. And also he, he's gay. So like hearing, like people thirst over his brother, like all these LGBTQ people thirsting over his brother, it's just super weird for him too. So it's hilarious. Again and again, I'm getting inspired to try hard in voice acting, love stories, telling stories, not too old. I'm excited. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Don May is essentially what you would call BL and change culture. Yes, I am familiar with that. I got behind in chat. I think we're all super glad you got cast so much things, but since you're putting effort into interacting with us and learning. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I get it, Yaoi. Yes. Yeah, gay porn. What are your favorite kind of genres and kind of stories? Genre. It's a good question. I like. So here's the thing. I don't have a specific loyalty to any one thing really. Stuff that piques my interest usually is sci-fi or fantasy stuff. Um, not so much low fantasy, like something like Game of Thrones or something like that. Like that's not something that usually gets me. And I know I can't remember the author's name, but he's an exceptional writer. But so like I'm not shitting on that series, but I don't. That is not for me. That is not something I like. I don't find as I've gotten older, I realize that like watching a bunch of powerful white people send other people to murder each other for more power is just boring to me. I don't find that interesting. Um, but as far as like genre and kinds of, I don't have a genre. So my favorite thing in the world, my favorite medium in the world is comic books. And superhero comic books are a bastard genre, a bastard medium of all the different kinds of style of popular comics that were happening at the time that superheroes were created back in like the 20s or something. So I mean, if you just look at the Avengers are comprised of a horror character in Hulk and like in a Frankenstein like thing. He's also sci-fi. You have a Cold War spy. You have a James Bond archetype character. You have a futurist sci-fi a speculative fiction character in Iron Man. You have a World War II hero in Captain America. You have sort of like a gentleman rogue-esque like character, a swashbuckling character in Hawkeye. And you have high fantasy Nordic mythology in Thor. Like you have all these different genres coexisting in this same narrative, and because those characters exist in those spaces and superhero books have kind of grown in this shared space, they can weave in and out of any kind of story really, and it makes sense. There seems to be a pretty strong connection between superhero stories and crime fiction and like noir and stuff. So I do have a really big soft spot for noir, especially cyberpunk, like like Blade Runner, like that. Oh god, that's just so good. But yeah, so like I don't have a genre. Kinds of stories, I have a soft spot for stuff with dads. So like Lion King gets me pretty hard. I have a soft spot for women with agency. And monster romances. So like Shape of Water or Beauty and the Beast or some things that like I'm just like, yeah, I can get into this. I can get into someone trying to fuck a fish man. I understand that logic. But yeah, I don't have like a specific favorite thing, mainly because the stuff that I really love is not fixed in that way. It kind of makes fun of gross type harm novels when League is all powerful and all the women. Is that for Scumbag System? I guess that's something. Where's someone's name does live up to the kind of intimacy that we'd have in West. Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with see Lady OT rings. Lady Ot rings. I don't know. Your comment about why Shalian works is exactly why it works in English. And I understand the missing Gaga, like that is a really huge thing in the original text, and I can understand it being a weird transition, but like it just unfortunately just doesn't work in English. Just got here. Sorry, this answers. But will this be recorded, and can I watch what I missed? Yeah, I've been recording from the beginning. I will post this later. It's adorable, Big Brother. That hit hard in my. Yeah. I'm agnostic now after my upbringing. I'm a full atheist. I don't believe in anything anymore, and that creates some existential dread because fuck was I. The way that I saw the world was solely revolved around the American, the very Protestant view of Yahweh. And I just love anime, but I try to understand things. I've been doing an amazing job. Thank you. I'm straight. I just love hot guys. Hey, hey. Atheist and Ace. It was a real journey. Yeah, that sounds like it's a real journey. Um, you've been. I'm queer and you've been adopted by gays. Oh, I've been adopted by gays a long time ago. Like I said, my brother's gay. His boyfriend also just happens to be gay. Weird. But he's also super gay because he's trans and gay. And so he worked at it. Uh, and it's really funny. They have like, because I am the kind of straight man that I am, and that I'm not the straightest straight guy in the world. Like, at the end of the day, I fall keenly on that side of the Kinsey scale. But I have not, but I have not gone through my life without confusing some people. Excuse me. And so, so they refer to me as a cryptid. And when they learn more about, like, when he and my brother, like, his boyfriend and his friend group, when they learn more about, like, me or like my history or tendencies or something, they refer to it as a James lore drop, and I think that is absolutely delightful. I love being a cryptid. I started art in my mid-20s too, and I came super late to the world. People growing up drawing as kids, so hearing your story really inspires me. Never really. Yeah, that's the other fucking thing, right? Just like, oh, well, I started when I was like 5. Like, it's like I was reading Shakespeare when I was a zygote. It's like, go fuck yourself. Like, so the one part about that narrative that I never hear, and that is something that really needs to be addressed, is that means that you were comfortably middle class. Like, you had money. You had money to do those things. You had your family had the money to support you in those endeavors, or your life was stable enough to where your family could work towards getting you those things. Now, that's not universally true. I think I cannot remember this actress's name, but she was in How to Get Away with Murder. She's the lead in that. She's done that Shonda Rhimes show. She's also Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad films. She's a phenomenal actress. She is so amazing. But her life story is also like, is just like, she lived in like abject poverty, from what I understand. And like, it was very hard, and she worked a lot, and she, put a lot into her pursuit of a career in acting. She also had support from other people. Like, success does not just happen, and success is not an individual achievement. Success is a communal thing. Even if no one admits to it, you cannot get anywhere in life without the support of other people, either actively or passively. Because if you're just on your own, that's how you die of exposure. Like, so me being here, even though I lived a very traumatic, chaotic, and shitty life for most of it, one that has, resulted of like me and all my siblings being in therapy for various different reasons at various different stages of our lives, even to this day, I still had help. Like, when I was younger, we were poor. We were lucky though in that, like, we had other family members who weren't poor, and they took us in, and they gave us support in that way. And so, like, I got to experience different kinds of lives. But like, for most of my life, I was very poor. And so the thought of being a part of something like a theater group, or like going, like, like learning overseas, or some of these other things that I see a lot in the, like, success, in like the progression stories of people who become successful, are just like, where the fuck did you get the money to do that? Where in God's name did you have the money to do those things? I mean, even my pursuit as an actor, to be trained as an actor, has been wildly expensive. I could not have done that on my own. I had help from family to in all of the early classes. It only was really until about probably after like the first year or so that I started paying for things myself, and even then I only paid partially. Like, I didn't want them to pay for everything, but I needed help, and I could not have done this without them. And so, like, so like when I was a kid, I didn't have that. And so just to say it as if it's such a normal thing is just so disingenuous to me. It's so shitty. Granted, most people don't think about that stuff. So, like I can understand why it doesn't do anything. Since we're talking about comics, if you could pick a character at all to play, who would it be and why? Nightcrawler. Fucking Nightcrawler. I will be that blue demon. Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop is fucking amazing. The live action is a thing. I don't want to God. I have some thoughts on that show, but I don't want to talk about it because it just seems to pile on to the shit that's been dumped on that show, which I think some of it's been unfair. But the anime is just a fucking classic, and everyone should watch it. Do you read webtoons as well? So as I mentioned before, I've been reading the manga or the manhwa on the Bilibili app, and I do read webtoons. However, I have an issue with the word webtoon, mainly because it's just branding. A webtoon is not different from a comic book. It's just formatted for your phone. And I understand the success of the branding, but I personally don't like the obfuscation of branding over a thing. Like when people say, I'm going to make an anime, normally they're saying they just want to make a cartoon with an anime aesthetic, because an anime is a cartoon made in Japan that comes from a Japanese sensibility and culture and all this other stuff. It's its own, not that it's its own thing in the sense of where it's coming from, but it's not that different from a cartoon. But like I'll see people say, oh yeah, I want to make a manga, or I want to make a this, that, or the other. And while I'm not here to shit on that, because that's a legitimate pursuit, if you want to make that kind of thing with those kinds of tropes, go for it. But I think it misses the point in that, like, what I see the end result, a lot of what I see the end result of that stuff is people making stuff that's just a reflection of stuff that's already existed, they're not in the story, like, essentially. Like, as an artist, you're inserting yourself into this thing. Like, I don't see a Western influence over this guy who lived in Nebraska who made a manga, Like, I see someone who's emulating something coming from Japan, and that's not very interesting to me. So, yes, I read webtoons. I read web comics. I like webtoons because they're formatted for my phone, and they're great. I currently... God, there's a bunch of them that I read on the app, the webtoon app. I read Lore Olympus. God, that's so good. I'm really sad that the print version just like butchered, because it was formatted for your phone, so it should read this way, not this way, and yet they reformatted it and it loses its progression. There's a language to comic books and panel progression. It's very interesting. It's very cool. And they fucked it because the format's different. My son's girlfriend is trans. Congratulations! She must be awesome. Has Will watched TGCF? What did he think about it? I don't know if he's seen it or not. I think he has, but he hasn't talked to me about it, so I don't know. James Lordrop. Yes, it's very cute. Real life cryptid getting cast voice Hua Cheng. That's so fitting. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. How would you do an intimate part of him as a blessing from the novel? How would I do an intimate part in? I would do it justice, apparently. Gaze, yeah. That's how it ends up being. I'm currently in the middle of my second major in college, and this is all one day to afford my true passions. Oh, that's a fucking vibe. That's a mood right there. I'm currently in the middle of my second major change, and all this to one day afford my true passions. Yep. Fucking Nightcrawler walks. Excalibur collector. Fuck yeah, Excalibur! I don't have a lot of Excalibur stuff. I have a little bit, but that was a really cool team. But yeah, no, Nightcrawler's the shit, man. They kind of done him dirty in some issues, but like, no, especially 90s comic or 90s cartoon, like the super Catholic version of him, I really enjoy, mainly because he's really empathetic. I really enjoyed the live action Bebop. Records most characters in this first time watchers. Yeah, like the live action. So, like, the thing that pisses me off about the live action is that it made some major mistakes in its adaptation, namely that they got rid of all the Japanese stuff and they replaced it with Western allegories. Like, Cowboy Bebop Spike's story is a Yakuza story. It's a very Japanese kind of story, and it's very specific to, like, Yakuza kind of drama and stories. And, like, There's a show on Netflix called Haji, which is a co-production between Netflix and the Japanese production company, or no, the BBC and the Japanese production company, and Netflix. I guess it was like Netflix Japan or something. It is phenomenal. It is an amazing show, but it's also very Japanese, and it is very much a Yakuza story. And like, if you want kind of like a crash course on what to expect and like why there's that sort of like quiet melancholy that permeates throughout Cowboy Bebop. I mean, it's also a testament to the writer, whose name I can't remember. She passed away recently, and that's very sad because she's done exceptional work. But it's also like a testament to that kind of a story as well. Like, even though Cowboy Bebop is this amalgam of like Western noir and detective stuff, but it's an amalgam of two different cultures, and that's why it resonates so well with both, I feel. But the live action, just like, now we're gonna fucking replace this and we're gonna make it gangster shit, like New York gangster stuff, but it's gonna be cyberpunky. And they had capos and other Italian words that are not in the goddamn Yakuza. So it just fucked with the tone a lot. And just stuff that works and so like they made character changes that work in gangster stories, but they don't work in Yakuza stories. So there was this incongruent mess of genre tropes and things that were happening, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense for a gangster story, but I've seen these characters behave in a Yakuza story, and that's where they're supposed to be behaving, and this is not great. And so like the versions of the characters all make sense in terms of how they adapted them, but I just don't think they did a good job of adapting it. I'm still old and say webcomic. I mean, it's a comic, period. Even mangas are comics. They're just, mangas just saying like where they're from. I read mostly gay webcomics. I used to, I think they just kind of weave in between queer narrative. There's a lot of queer narrative in webcomic, which is really great, honestly. Like, it was something of frustration that I had with people like in college, where they kind of wrote comic books off entirely, because in America the popular idea of a comic book is superhero stuff, is like Avengers and Justice League and Batman's, and there's not a lot of queer representation in those world, well, in specifically the worlds of Marvel and DC at that time. It's changed a lot since then. There's a lot more color of the rainbow and skin tone variety, thankfully, and it is really, really good. But there was just this like huge dismissal of comic books as a whole medium, when independent publishing, like smaller publishing stuff like First Second and Image and Drawn and Quarterly, all had really wildly interesting stuff, lots of queer representation. I mean, fuck, the Alison Bechtel of the Bechtel Test. She wrote. She's a comic book creator. She wrote Fun Home, and a number of other different things. The underground comics with an X with an X scene. There was a lot of stuff there, and then on top of that, web comics, because it was coming, I think largely because a lot of people who are making web comics also had like anime backgrounds, and queerness is a bit more ubiquitous in anime than it is here because of cultural differences. Like there was just a fuck ton more queer shit on the web and on web comics than there was on print comics. And so yeah. No, it's just, I went on a rant and I don't remember why. I'm gonna go back to reading this. If I get cast to play another anime donghua character, who would you want to play? I don't know. Actually, no, I do know. Elias Ainsworth from Ancient Magus' Bride. It's actually where I learned how to get the sexy voices, because I wanted to be him. I want to be him so bad. Have you read a yaoi or danmei webcomics before? I don't know if you answered before. I haven't answered this specific question. The answer is yes. I actually went through a phase in my teens where I don't know where I got this, but I had this. It's still there in my brain, but just this idea that like love is not real if there is not some kind of conflict. And so I used to be a real sucker for the Romeo and Juliet narrative of just two people, two star-crossed lovers who just for whatever social reasons, just can't be together, or being together is dangerous. That was part of it. It was that being together was dangerous, and choosing to be together was, in the face of that danger was really appealing to me. And then in high school, I read um, I read excerpts of Romeo and Juliet for English class, and realized that that this happened in 3 days, and these are just dumb, horny teenagers, and most of their problems are like kind of made up. Like they could have just left. Like straight romances don't have a lot of real issues with them. Like real preventative issues. Like, oh, I can't be with you because like my neighbor will shoot me in the face if we are together in the open. Interracial stuff, I mean, granted, that's a whole story. But like, two attractive white people coming together, there really isn't, other than just the people themselves, there really isn't a reason as to why they should be together. So I kind of like had this disillusionment of that narrative, and I was like, oh, that's so terrible. And then in my teen mind, I was like, no, queer narratives, like gay shit. Gay stuff is where it's real because the danger is real in a gay relationship. So I went. I had a brief stint where I preferred reading BL stuff, not necessarily yaoi. Although the line between yaoi and BL is very thin. Although the thing I hate about that stuff is that consent's a real issue in anime, period. Like Japan, I don't know what Japan's idea of consent is, but it's a whole fucking thing. But it just seems to be non-existent in most BL stories, which is why I like Hua Cheng, because he seems to be thinking about consent. So yeah, so I have read those before. I took one graphic novel class in college, and I'm not really a comics fan, but there's much talent that goes in the medium. It's incredible. Yes, yes, it is. And the amazing thing about comics too is that like a lot of Americans tend to forget that like Europe has also a really big comic scene, and their approach to formatting and the kinds of stories and all, and just and the look, like Mobius, an artist who is a heavy influence on George Lucas and like the look of Star Wars. He's a widely prolific comic book artist, but he's European. He tends to appeal to very specific age demographic though, because his work was very popular like when George Lucas was younger. But yeah, Fun Home. Yes, Fun Home. Fun Home is fantastic. Fun Home is terrifying and awful. No judgment on you liking it, but Jesus fuck, that Fun Home was, oh god, I will never read that book again. Indie zines always the most rep in comics mediums because there's more people making it for yourself and others. Like, yeah, also just more marginalized people are making that stuff too. So that's, you get you get people you get people of different backgrounds who, for whatever reason are not are not finding success in mainstream. They just start doing their shit elsewhere, and then you get really cool independent stuff. And unfortunately, after like the 90s boom, though, that's not economically viable for most people. But yeah, no, it's wonderful. The small print stuff is where a lot of the cool stuff is happening. There is a new subgenre of comic books that are being produced of queer sports narratives. That is fascinating. Like there's Fence, there's a basketball one that's about a bunch of lesbians, high school lesbians, and then there's just a couple of other things. But like it's becoming a whole genre of just queer sports. And while I'm not, I have some biases towards queer comic books because they tend to just be bad in my experience. I'm happy that that's a subgenre that's happening. A good old romance plot, so lovely. Yes, Texas Gang. Let's see. Do you want to know why Hua Cheng was in love with Shannon Fan here? I think it's adorable. No, I will find out later. Fictional gay romance is so drama ridden, so yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, it's just angst, or with BL essentially, very much so. I think less so now as like the narrative around queerness has changed. But yeah. Non-kan is a whole subgenre in yaoi. Non-kan just exists in anime, period. It's just pervasive. It's in most everything. I mean, that fucking can't remember the name for it, but where you put where the aggressor puts his hand, like blocks the person in, like puts a hand on the wall and like towers over them. That is not consent. That is violating someone's personal space, regardless of if it's hot or not. That is not consent. Fun Home is a lot, but very well written. Yes, I agree. I wouldn't reread it myself. No, I can't handle it. Like, I'm not going to Fence. Yay, Fence. Have you heard of Killing Stalking? Yes, I've heard of Killing Stalking. That's just fucked, but it's supposed to be fucked, if I remember correctly. Love good scum gong. I have no fucking idea what that is. If you've never seen Howard's Work and Skate Infinity, you really should. So a friend of mine, Ryan McKeon, is in that show. So I have seen a little bit of Skate Infinity. But I have not seen it in its entirety. I do know it's gay as shit, though. I mean, David Wald's in it. Like, it's gonna be gay as fuck. Kabedon. Yes, Kabedon. Yeah. Did you see Damien Mills thirsting over Damien Mills thirsted over Hua Cheng? What? I have to see this. Hang on. Was this recent or was this a while ago? Damien Mills. Hold on, let me see if I can find Damien Mills. Nope. Okay, that's not happening. Let's see his Twitter. Yeah, because I don't follow Damon. I just am aware of him. God, he's so good. He is like next goddamn tier. He's got infinite range. That bastard has got so much fucking range. I'm just doing a quick scroll through. I don't know. Did someone post it maybe? It's from the trailer. Or you'll DM me about it? Okay. All right, cool. Then I'll just wait for you to DM me. Yeah, and I had no idea. I was genuinely surprised at how many professionals in the industry who are into this show. Like Zara Faisal or Fuzzle. I am flabbergasted that she took that she is interested in this show, because she is like next level in terms of like skill and career. I mean, Jesus Christ, she's in a oh my god, I can't remember his name. This is terrible that I have forgotten his name. Greg Weisman. Haha. She's in a Greg Weisman show in Young Justice. Like, and she was, she's done all this stuff and she speaks multiple languages. Like, she's like, why are you talking to me, woman? You speak multiple languages. You were beyond me. But she's awesome. I've spoken to her briefly over Twitter. But yeah, that or Emmy Lowe and all these other people who were already fans of the show. I was very surprised that this had kind of professional people who were fans were into the show. I was very surprised about that. Just Skate's hilarious. All I know Skate is the two characters of similar dynamic. The two side characters in 227. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Scum is a horrible, abusive male lead, and Damon usually gets just desserts. Okay, cool. Damon Jonah did such a good for. Yeah, Jonah Scott's a great actor. So is Damon. They're fucking insane. Read Pun Pun or Dead Demons Distraction. Nope. Austin was doing fun stuff narratively and visually. That's cool. I don't know. Those names don't ring a bell. Ladiesbug, Litisbug. So I have not seen those. See, maybe you can find it somewhere. Link to Twitter. Will you do Heaven's official blessing too if they bring me back? I have no. I am under contract, like work for hire contract, so they can fire me whenever they want. Not that there's any real, not that I'm aware of any real like threat to that. I seem to be doing a good job, and people seem to really like me, so I doubt that that's happening. Also, there's no guarantee that Funimation's gonna have season 2. Even though it's likely, like season like the localization rights of anime and shows gets really weird and wonky, and so like, Netflix may come in and be like, fuck Funimation, and like, you know, and like get season and pay fuck off money to have season 1 and season 2 on its thing, and then like they decide to localize it or something so they have a new full cast. Granted, that's a hypothetical, and that's just like me going down rabbit holes. That is not a real. I don't think that's a real thing that could happen, but it's whatever. Would blow up so much after being picked up by Funny. Yeah, same. No idea. What does TGCF means? It's an acronym of the Chinese name of the series, as someone just answered right after that. Chris Pratt will take over Hua Cheng for season over my dead fucking body. Don't even joke. Yeah. No. Noda, go fuck yourself, Noda. Like you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, and fuck you. If it is my Hua Cheng. Sends the tweets to you. Haha, there's 2 of them. All right. So tweets have been sent. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Here's Damon Mills thirsting over Hua Cheng. What does he say? Oh, okay. So he. Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously, it's the fucking female gaze looking up at the throne. Jesus. I mean, it is weird seeing or him saying that, you know, daddy. But yeah, no, I get it. That's a daddy moment. And then here's a second one. Oh yeah, he's just reacting to the same scene again. Yeah, no, I am really looking forward to season 2. Because it seems like Hua Cheng is really in his element in that, and so I'm gonna have, I'm definitely gonna be having a lot of fun, especially that fucking throne, man. Also his boots, I want those goddamn boots, man. Those are awesome. I'm gonna move this over here. Looking at chat. I know I love this cast. I love this cast too. Yeah. Who doesn't thirst over Hua Cheng? Hua Cheng doesn't thirst over Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng's not super keen on himself. Season 2 Hua Cheng. Best dressed. Very true. Very true. I need to voice Gambler's Den arc. Funimation and Universe. I mean, it's not... I say that only to... I say that it's not a guarantee simply because it's not a guarantee. But it is extremely likely that Funimation's going to get season 2 and that I'm going to be coming back as Hua Cheng. Like, granted, I'm not, you know, like I say this because I don't have all the information, but judging by how well we're doing, I really would be surprised if it moves around, like if Funimation gives up on this show. They may have already procured the rights, who knows. I don't know anyone who doesn't want those boots, right? those fucking baller ass boots, man. I fucking want them. It's fantastic. We are your most devoted believers. Thank you. That's super sweet. Also a little bit obsessed and a little bit creepy, but sweet. That's I guess that's what fans are. It's a little bit creepy, but a little bit sweet. Boots are amazing. Yeah. She really enjoyed the ox cart scene, so thanks. Yeah, ox cart scene was fun. Ox cart scene was an absolute delight to play. And it was interesting too because, like, if I remember correctly, Howard had gotten to some of that scene by the time that I was recording it, but not the whole thing. Not the whole episode. So like I got to react off of him from, you know, for some of that, but not everything, but I still had an idea of like what he was going to do. And so it was very fun to be like, oh, okay, we're going to have fun. We're going to do this. What are some of your favorite lines from the show from other characters that are not Hua Cheng? Phil Song randomly said she's a mess about the Ghost Bride. Yeah, Phil Song's doing a great job. I'm trying to think of I don't pay attention to anyone else's lines. I'm not given their lines, so I don't ever get to see. There hasn't been anything that really stuck out to me that I can think of off the top of my head. Dick Young is great, you know, just like they replaced it with Dick Young. But there hasn't really been a standout. Like, here's the thing. So Hua Cheng is the funniest person in the show, not because he's the most witty, but because he's in a position to fuck with everyone. Like, everyone else in the show is a straight man. You know, I mean, not that they really are straight, but you know, everyone else is a comedic straight man, and he's not. He's the wild card. So most of the comedy really is going to come from him. Or him reacting to other things. You know, I mean, like I loved the scene where it was when he tricks the merchants into bowing to the monument to the Shilian as the general, and you know he just sticks his tongue out and he's like, nah. Just this little brat. I thought that was so cute and so funny. Let's see. What would be ideal line? I love that too. That's my favorite line so far. I'm scared. Yeah, I leaned into. I definitely leaned into that one a lot more. Yeah, the I'm scared line. I'm scared. All of watching Sigil Bangles and when are supposed to have a cultural significance, apparently. Yeah, I guess so. I think they reference that in the book where they're like the designs are foreign or something, which is his background. I think I remember reading somewhere where like MXTX said that like she had created Hua Cheng's background and that he was this child of like people who weren't Chinese, like they were foreigners. And then she realized that that's irrelevant in the story, so she just kind of abandoned it. But some of that stuff, I guess, still. Right. I know him as Yuno from Black Clover. Oh yeah. I know I'm friends with the lead of Black Clover. Not super close, but Dallas is good people. Dallas is awesome, and his wife Jill is also good people. They're good people, and they were fun. I run into them occasionally. Snarky asshole is what we're here for. Yes. Sassy monster. Yes, he is a sass monster. He's such a troll. Yes, he is. Scene where the truth drinks sword guy. So the truth or like the revealing water or something. That's fun. I love the fact that he destroyed a priceless sword, you know, and just to avoid. I don't even think that would have really revealed him because he's so powerful, but just to fuck with those two. He broke a fucking sword. So funny. Took me ages to thirsting over Hua Cheng. Yes. Fuyao constantly trying to outsass each other. I think Fuyao's trying to. I don't think he's trying to outsouse him. I think he's just trying to like punch him with words, and Hua Cheng is just better at it. She said background stuff and her editing author. Yes. Have you read any TGCF fan fiction? No, I don't read fan fiction. All the bickering. Hua Cheng was a Pokemon. What would he be? If you know nothing about Pokemon, name a random one. Shit. I don't know, because he would be a ghost type, but there aren't any, like, all the ghost types have really creepy backstories. They don't have, like, they're not loyal. Like, you know, like my initial, if there was a ghost evolutionary form of Eevee, that's what he would be. But there's not. There's just psychic and dark and fairy. He broke the sword just to fuck with him. I felt so bad for not fucking that scene. Yeah, well, I think it's worse too in the story where you get the background around that scene where like he had to pawn it because he had no, like Shalian had to pawn it because he had no money, and then and then he specifically hunted that sword down so it wasn't out in the world, and it had this really big personal significance, and then Hua Cheng just fucking broke it because he's an asshole. Don't read any fanfiction, read all the books. Well, that's gonna be years down the line because all the books it's gonna take like 2 or 3 years for all the books to come out. Well, now I need a ghost Eevee. Everyone needs a ghost Eevee. Well, you don't need a ghost Eevee. That means Eevee died. That's sad. All right. Well, let's see. I have caught up to the chat, and it is getting pretty late. And some of you stayed up till 3 in the goddamn morning to chat with me. So I'm going to call it here. This has been delightful. Like I said, I have been recording this 6 a.m. Jesus fuck. Go to sleep. God damn. You're welcome. It's 9 a.m. I mean, my God, you people. I have class in an hour. My God, why did you do this? You have a life. I'm not that important. Thanks for chatting with us. Super fun. Yeah, no, this was entertaining. This was fun for me too. So thank you guys. And you guys are totally welcome. Like I said, I will be posting this later. I don't know exactly when. This seems to be pretty. This was a lot long. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So I don't know if it'll be fun for people watching in the future. But I will definitely from Japan. Oh, from Japan. Nice. But yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, guys. All right. Well, I'm going to be signing off. Again, pleasure chatting with you all. And I don't know when I'll see you guys again. Or if we will see each other again. But yeah, so I will just keep playing everybody's favorite sexy dead king man, and you know the Hua Dilf Daddy, as it were. All right, so bye everybody.